I'm an earthworm woman. In the mornings, I fill my tanks by breathing the energy of the sea and tasting the power of the sun penetrating my skin. There's an air of no care, which comes with age, and I hold my head up proudly, liking who I've become. I'm not afraid of smells, or dirt, or to walk barefoot across the stones. Sometimes I wade through the shallow water just to embrace its fluid element, my hair often crazy and loose, being pulled by and flying in the wind. I can be glamorous if I want to, although makeup was never my thing. And I've learnt that life is for living, not fearing, and so I absorb it like a sponge. Good morning, everyone. Actually, I have to say grand rising. That's what I say. In Melbourne, we still grand rise, even though the last 2 days, it's been like walking through a blizzard out there. But you know what? Doesn't matter. The sun will come. It will be coming, or I'm going to bloody well find it. Anyway, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to another Earthworm Woman. It's number 65. I might have skipped 64, but anyway, I'll have a look. Today, I've got a beautiful woman called Suzanne coming on. A lot of you might know her. I meet lots and lots of women at the moment. It just seems to be, without doing anything on purpose, I seem to talk to a lot of women, I suppose, and I meet them just in different situations. Often on the beach is one particular woman I've spoken to recently, and there's just this amazing connection of openness and wanting to sort of be there for each other, support each other. And I'm very, very much interested in that. I'm very interested in women supporting women specifically. I'm not anti anything. It's just that really fires me at the moment. And I've got loads of things that I want to get on with, that I'm doing, some of them with marooned and everything, which is just automatically women at the moment doing that, apart from the actors in the play. And so it was a very interesting, I got a phone call from Suzanne, and she said, I want to come on and I want to talk about my past. And hi, Denise, or Denise D. Don't know you. She wants to talk about her past. And I think somebody, who was it? Oh, yeah, no, Jeannie. When I was just talking to her, she said, maybe it's something about the awakening that people, they're ready to undo stuff, and just, I think the magical thing is, I believe, talking. And so she's gone. Did I bore her away? I was just about to bring Susanna in, and she's just gone. So I will wait for her to come back. Yes, no, she's I met her in Melbourne, and she's just got this power of positivity and energy, which I do wonder often, Grand Rising Belinda, whether women are very good at putting out the front, the positive, the face, the smile. They talk to each other. And I've had a great weekend helping my friend move, and it was just a really nice thing to do, and that was really tiring, and up and down the stairs lugging boxes and blah blah blah. But there's a beautiful bond connection that just happens anyway, and we talk away. I have to keep talking, I'm afraid, because Suzanne has vanished, and if she can see this, I would just suggest just keep trying, just keep coming back in. And so what was I saying? Yeah. So I think we can't hide. We have to just connect with whoever's around and um, make sure our sisterhood is very strong. I'm just going to have to text her to see what's happened. She's up in northern New South Wales now, and I think perhaps where she is, not got the greatest internet, which is really strange, isn't it? Because I thought they put all that shit everywhere to make sure that the internet was really here she comes. So they put that Wi-Fi everywhere so that the internet was very stable. I'm adding you to the stage, and we'll just wait for you. There she is. So at the moment, she's a blank canvas. So whatever comes out of that blank canvas will be very interesting, I'm sure. Um, you're on the screen, Susanna, if you can hear me, but we can't see you. Ah, there she is. Princess. There we go. Hi, Susanna. I was just doing a big introduction on you. And all about talking and all about connecting and specifically women being there for each other, the sisterhood. So, good morning. Can you hear? Yeah, you're a bit frozen.
I'm not sure if everyone can hear me.
We can hear you. We can hear you. I can hear you. It's just your visuals frozen. If you can carry on, Susanna, if you can hear me, just start to talk. Tell me.
I hope everyone is well.
They're all well. We're all well. Of course, we're well. Do you want to just start to tell me about why you rang me up? You said I'm ready to come. Oh, she's gone. She's gone again. Hang on. Let's just give me a second, everyone. We could hear and see you. Why is it what you do that when you get older? You have to speak your text as you send it. Yeah, I think she's near you in Mullumbimby. So she's probably there we go. You guys talk to each other here. Let's have a talk. Does anyone else want to come on in the meantime? Hi, Maddalena. Back in the beautiful Melbourne. We might push 15 degrees today. In case anyone has just joined, Susanna's just lost her. She's lost her Wi-Fi. What do you call it? Connection. I'm not exactly sure where exactly where she is up in northern New South Wales, but yeah, she's in a part obviously with not great reception. Now, this is not going to make much of a fun program. So, what I'm going to do discussion. Just wondering if anybody else would like to jump on and just talk. I can send you a link. Just while we wait for her, because this is all about her story, and Susanna wants to come forward about her past and her family and stuff. So if anybody would like to come on about that, come on and talk about that, or not talk about that, just talk about anything different. No, I'm not really sure what to do here. I might have to just stop the whole thing. Sing about Canada. I'm not singing about bloody Canada. Does anyone want to talk about? Well, here we go. Is anybody in the area of Colac, Cororook, Geelong, any of those areas, or even Melbourne? Hi, Lynn. Why don't you come on, Lynn? I met you way back at the beginning. I just wonder if anyone's in those areas, because I'm I'm back, as people may know, getting marooned up there for the farming community and, well, anyone in that area really who perhaps who hasn't seen it. And this is a powerful piece around suicide, it is, and mental health. But it's also incredibly entertaining. And, it has a lot of laughs in it and everything. So if you're in those areas, it would be fantastic to get any sort of help of, if you know people who are connected to, I'll try and get here if I'm home. Huh? What do you mean? No, I'm saying, do you want to come on here? Because I need someone to come on now. Belinda, why don't you come on? So if anyone's in those areas, she's texting back. I'm wanting to try and make it's more of an event. I'll bring it anywhere. Nina, I would bring it anywhere, but it, I have to pay actors, I have to pay venues, and I have to pay travel and all those things. So here she comes. Hopefully she's back. Add to the stage. Yeah. Okay.
There we
Fantastic.
go. Hi,
So
Rohana.
they don't want to hear me blabbering onto myself. I was just talking about Maroon quickly. So yeah, it's on the 12th and 13th of December up in that area. Talk to me, send me an email if you want to know more, or if you can help me. And I'll add that at some point on the pages anyway. So you look great now. Well, you didn't look great before.
Yeah.
You looked great before as well, but now you're
It's clearer now, is it? Yeah. Yeah. Lovely.
So
Beautiful
you
neighbours
called
helped me
me.
out.
Fantastic.
I did. So
You
I
called me
feel,
when I was
yeah.
just in a point where I was saying I'm really connecting a lot to different women, and it seems to be just an automatic thing. We're connecting and wanting to talk about stuff, and so I just want you to go ahead and tell me, talk about why you felt the need to call.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's so important. I felt very called. I have for some time. So in relation to, so the crux of it is, I think fundamentally, first, I want to start by saying I have such a deep love for the human spirit, and we are all such, wonderful, magnificent, human beings, really, in our true essence. But yeah, why I called to ring you, want to speak to is the trauma of childhood sexual abuse and the impact it has on survivors. But I want to speak to the fact that beyond being survivors, we can also thrive as survivors of childhood sexual abuse.
Obviously massively brave to come out and say all of those words in one sentence for a start, and then to that's a massively vulnerable place, and so good on you for actually saying,
well, it is, but it's so important because in silence nothing changes. Not taking away from the validity of sitting in our own silence and having our own, but when things are not discussed, things do not change. So even if I look to my family unit, there were some aunties and people who didn't directly know that my father was sexually abusing me, but did know to his potential for certain behaviours. But they were in a generation where these aunties love me dearly. I love them dearly. They have not done anything wrong, but by virtue of the era and the time they were brought up in, they couldn't look at their own trauma or so it wasn't verbalised. It wasn't able to be verbalised at those times, I feel.
Such a awfully isolating place for you as a child.
Well, see, yeah. So for me, because it was in my family home, I will speak to. As a child, it wasn't in my conscious mind as a child. I was not walking around in my childhood aware our systems, our nervous system, which is something else I will want to speak to at some, but our nervous systems, our body, mind, spirit has an amazing capacity to protect us, to keep us safe, So it literally locks down these traumas that are too much for a young child to take in or process. The child shouldn't have to be experiencing this essentially. But our system has an amazing way of protecting us and locking it down. So this varies. Every person has their own unique experience. So maybe it speaks to the fact that the abuse would have started so very young and does start very young.
Do you think it was?
The earliest memories I have are when I was 3. So they came back to me. So as I said, it was like, so as a 3-year-old, it was like a tickling game. It was like I have a very vivid memory of being in my bedroom and not wanting him to come in, but I didn't know why I didn't want him to come in, and I just was hoping my dad wouldn't come in, and then when he came in, it was this tickling game, and and he tickled down, to then stimulate, I probably laughed because as a child it's a sensation, it probably is ticklish. I mean, I had to come to terms with that as well, that as a child probably sometimes my responses were just, responding to the physicality of, even though I didn't want to play this game that I was, even as a 3 or 4-year-old, aware was his game,
And your mother was around?
So she was, but she didn't know. I really, with all my heart, don't believe that what an angel. My beautiful mama, I wouldn't be okay if it wasn't for her most beautiful, honest heart and love. But see, he was a master manipulator, as is the case usually. So, and he was a serial abuser, that I was to find out later. But anyway, so he would, he put mum down a lot and made mum feel stupid. So when I did remember as a 20-year-old, and then the memories just all started flooding in, but when I had that first memory and really knew then clearly, and let my mum know, she was already not with him because he had gambling and other problems as well. So she was not with him from when I was 16. So that's when that abuse would have stopped for me.
Right.
And I will say, sorry, I'm probably going to go in different directions, but I will say that
anywhere. There's no right way to go. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, so I had the first memory I had in my early 20s. Right. I'd had so I was a high achiever all through high school. I had the beautiful outlet of dancing. I went to the College of the Arts for my secondary school. So having that outlet was paramount, I think, to my well-being. I think that's why otherwise, if I hadn't have had something I was so passionate about and enabled me to release some of the excess emotion, even though I didn't realise, and be able to prove to myself I was okay. There's this theme of there's something fundamentally wrong with you, which there is not.
But so for all those years as a child into whatever, until he went, you kind of didn't acknowledge it almost. You just shoved it down somewhere.
It was literally locked away. So later in my healing journey, because it took many different, it was a long journey from that moment of first remembering. I had a nervous breakdown. I didn't know why I was having a nervous break. So I'd been and lived in Japan and worked in Japan for a few years, and learnt Japanese quite well, and then came home, and I was supposed to be going to Sydney to run the children's pantomimes they used to do in the shopping centres. I had worked doing that when I was 15, 16, 17. So I was supposed to be going to Sydney to do that again for the people I knew who ran it, and I had a nervous breakdown, so I literally could not leave the house, could not get out of the fetal position.
What do you think happened that made that happen?
I think the system couldn't run anymore. It couldn't, it had been running on cortisol. So when we're in that stress, that fight, flight, freeze component, our body is producing excess cortisol all of the time, And when we're running like that and something's being blocked, at some stage the system's going to say no. So it just it just stopped, and I did not know why. And yeah.
But you've been to Japan and everything you said before that. Wow.
Prior to
So
that,
it
so it was
wasn't.
really hard to comprehend. This all sounds interesting now, but
Yeah.
at the time I remember thinking, how can I be so scared and not be able to get out of the fetal position in the safety of my own room, in mum's house, in my hometown? I've lived on the other side of the world, like how is it possible that, anyway, so I realised now the nervous breakdown, that was because I was bawling, and it was my system's way of releasing some of that excess emotion that was bound so deep inside. And it took a few years of that emotion and I was suicidal. Yeah, it was a very difficult time. It was a very difficult time. Yeah, I'm very grateful I was at my mum's house and had something to whisper to me to
Your
stop
mum's
that
house, I
needing.
mean, you were so young. You were so
Yeah.
young, you
Mm.
needed obviously,
Mm.
you already at that age where you say that I was at my mum's house, it's like there was a trust that was you didn't even trust that these parents were people that would protect
Mm.
you, even though,
Yeah.
your
No,
mother
mum I did
wasn't.
feel safe with. Mum
Yeah.
I was safe
Yeah.
with. See, when I had the first memory and told mum, she had trouble understanding what I was saying because, I probably wasn't using very clear language initially as
Yes.
well. I was probably just
Yeah.
saying that I remember that Dad
Skirting
touched me
around.
and it was, in a bad way, and she never saw him hit me because he didn't, or, he wasn't violent to me in that respect, and the thing is, I wouldn't have been, when he was raping me, I wasn't screaming and things. My system had already learned to freeze, so.
Do you remember, I mean, you don't wanna go, I know, probably
Mm.
don't want to go into too many details, but do you remember or how often it was? How many was it every day you're living in this?
Probably not every day. No, no.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
think every day. Something
But you must have
is
just dreaded him being around.
well, see, this is it. It was such a honestly, Rahana, see, in the waking hours, this is gonna sound so odd, but this is just the
Yeah.
truth of it. In the waking hours, I had 2 older brothers. I was the baby girl. I was the daughter.
Oh,
Well, I was the baby girl, and mum felt so blessed to have a girl, and, I danced and my brothers loved me, and my dad put me on a pedestal, if anything, in that. Do you know what I mean? Like, made a fuss about, but not he. Yes, it was a big
wow.
contradiction. I think I learned at a very young age that I was the only one that could work this out,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
make this
And
okay. Like, I
you
realized mum really didn't know. Like, she really didn't, because, yeah,
it
she
sounds
didn't.
like
I
you
just
covered it
really.
up as well by you saying you
Mm,
were a high achiever and all the dancing and all of that. So all the attentions,
mm.
on
Like, the only
something.
time it presented that I am aware of in my childhood, like, I love school and have always been who I am, love people and
Mm,
life, and,
mm,
and bright, and I love school and love my dancing, as I said. And at age 8, which I think coincides with the very first memory I had, I was about 7 or 8, the very, very first clear, vivid memory I had. I'd been
wow.
meditating at that point, morning and night, religious, like, 20 minutes morning and night, right?
7 and 8.
This is at like, no, sorry, at like 23, but the first time I had the memory of
Oh,
this,
oh,
yeah?
oh, oh,
So
oh,
I'm about
okay.
23, and at that point I'd already broken down and was on my healing journey, so trying to put things in place to help me understand myself, and was meditating day and night. And then this one morning I sat in meditation, and it just started, this flashback came back so very clearly. This first flashback was of me being in the car, in the front seat of the car, which was unusual at age 8. Like, I felt like it was unusual. And it was at night, and we were driving really fast in the back streets, like just outside Hamilton, where we lived in country Victoria. And I was bleeding and in pain from my vagina, I was bleeding and I was in pain. And it was like I was coming out of shock, which I don't know. I think it's possible he used drugs as well, potentially.
Oh,
And he was driving the car, and as soon as, and in this memory, so it's of me in all this pain and hurting and coming out of shock, and I just looked at him, and in this first memory, it was like I just knew what had happened. I knew he'd hurt me there, in the very first memory I had of this instance, which I think is probably the first time he penetrated and put me into shock. I'm sorry if this is vivid for people,
No,
but
no, no.
in any case,
See,
this is how it's
well,
coming out.
what it does for me, I just wanna hit people. I would just wanna smash someone's face in. You're an
Mm,
innocent child, and
mm,
all he's causing is pain, and that's
mm.
it's
So the
horrendous.
reason I spoke to that then is because I think that's one time in my day-to-day life. So what happened is all of a sudden I was really, really scared. Mum didn't know what had happened,
Right.
because nothing had happened. It wasn't like I'd had, a fall or been in some accident. Mum was completely
Mm,
unaware what had happened. So Mum was really thinking something must have happened in school, because I didn't want to leave Mum, because I was safe when I was with Mum again, yeah. So it never happened when Mum was around, So, and I
right.
couldn't go to school, and the only thing I could do was make myself go to dance. But Mum would come with me and sit in the studio while I was doing my dance class for a few weeks. This or something when this went on, and Mum approached the school, and the school had noticed, something wasn't right. Mum just thought something might have happened at school, maybe with kids, something. She wasn't thinking
Yeah.
along
Never
these
look
lines of.
in front of them. Yeah, yeah.
Well, no. As I said, they're like master manipulators, So that's part of how they get access, in a broader
And also
sense, to
for your
so many.
mother and your brothers, if they were aware of anything, then they would have to be accusing, and admitting.
Mm,
Um,
yeah,
so someone's
yeah.
asking, didn't she see the club? But she was a child. She's not gonna be seeing
No,
that. Um,
no. So, and then the school was really worried about me, and the school was worried something was happening at home, But anyway, then that passed over a few weeks or whatever period of time it was, and then I went back to being my bubbly. Do you know what I mean? So, what I was later
yeah.
to find out, as far as how our body deals with trauma now, let's just go back to the basics now,
Mm,
stepping away from the
mm,
details of things,
mm,
but the way our body handles and processes trauma. So, uh, yeah, I did a lot of different things which were helpful to heal the trauma, from counselling, a lot of writing, a lot of different things as an adult, now, on my journey. And then I discovered network spinal, which is the work I now do now as well. It's a
mm.
beautiful modality because it helps to identify where these things are like stored in the physicality, in the body.
Right.
And on my
Yes.
own journey with that work, getting care,
Mm,
so after my body started to have a sense of greater safety was the first thing it needed to do, then it started to like uncover these where the body had stuffed these wounds, because again, as the young girl, I wasn't screaming or it wasn't being processed in any way, So it got locked down, yeah. So then
mm.
one point arrived in my trauma. So with this work, the nervous system of the person who's being worked on guides the treatment where the contacts will be made, and then at different times different contacts and things will open up when the person's system is actually ready. It will reveal them, so to speak.
Mhm, mhm.
So in my care there was something being revealed to me, a gateway up through the top of my neck. So these contacts are very, very light, right? But what would happen is when the practitioner came in to make a contact, I would just start screaming. They were hardly touching me, right? But my system was now opening the gateway, so to speak, and they came in and they would come in to approach the gateway, and I'd start going, no, 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 like literally out
Mm,
loud, and they're not
mm,
doing anything, right? But
mm,
what I was to discover when the time arrived where my system was secure enough to lean into that gate, actually to take a breath into that. Oh, what happened was, this is quite intense, but very
mm,
clarifying. So what happened in that moment when my system was safe enough as an adult to explore this that it had locked down, what it was, the memory associated with that was when I was in my room. I think I'd been asleep, probably tied in with this 7 or 8. I think it's the same incident, potentially, most likely. And it's like I woke up and was in all this pain, was really hurting and crying and screaming. And then it's like I look over my shoulder so then I have this clear memory of this. So then I look
yeah,
over my
yeah.
shoulder and I see that it's my daddy hurting me, right? And that's when my system, what I understand now is that's when my system just locked it all down. So I think then moving forward, each time I think I would freeze before it even started. Do you know what I mean? Like I would just lock
So
down and be in my mind.
You never
beating
cried
myself up,
out or let him see?
No, this is what I mean.
Yeah.
As I spoke to, he may well have used drugs because my auntie has a very clear memory of him, and it's very evident there was a drugging involved there as well. So there's high potential that was part of it. I'm just not,
Was he picking
I don't
times,
know,
do you think, when no one was around then? Was he picking
No,
times
I
when no
think
one
things
was around?
happen in the household. There's a time in the household when everyone's asleep at night, you know? Like there was one time, this was clear from the moment it happened. So there was one incident when I was about 15, not long before Mum left him as well, tied him with other things. But there was one incident in our house, and that is I was aware of, we were aware of at the time. This incident was, I was in my bed, and then, it's like I woke up and he was in my bed naked, lying behind me, right? In this instance, right? And in this instance, though, I had a very healthy, normal reaction. I just screamed out, "Get out of my bed," right? So, get out of my bed, right? So this was quite a normal not normal behaviour on his part, obviously, by any means. But I screamed him to get out of my bed and he wouldn't. And then I went into Mum's room, "Dad's in my bed and he's naked," and my brothers came out of their rooms that night and they were angry at him, and Mum said, "What are you doing?" And he said, which is quite interesting, I was to find out from someone giving legal advice, they said that is quite telling, because what he said was, "Oh, can't a father just give his daughter a hug?" So they said the fact that he didn't even say he was drunk or he went to the wrong room, the fact that it was normal for him to. So I don't know in that instance if he had, I don't believe in that instance he'd actually raped me. Well, at least I didn't, I don't know. I don't know. But but that was all clear at the time. And
while you were asleep,
yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Wow. Awful. Like very sick. Obviously it's a sick, twisted mentality.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the child, these young children who are abused, sexually abused of, so many years of maybe thinking it's them or their fault or,
Well, this is it. When I had these memories when I was having the work done, and I had these clear memories, and there was one at that similar age, and in the whole memory, so it's like he's there raping me, but it's like I'm completely detached from that, already gone into this frozen thing, I suppose. And in my mind, the dialogue of this memory I was having of this 8, 9-year-old girl was, "Why aren't I stopping him? Why aren't I?" I was just beating myself up for.
Yeah. Wow.
It's just awful, right?
That is an abuser, you see, and a person who's abused just thinks it's them. They think it's them.
Exactly.
They're the ones to blame in any shape or form of abuse. And someone
But again, I want to come
earlier.
back to, so it doesn't have to stay bound, though. So in the bigger scheme of this conversation, I really clearly want to also be very clear that we don't have to, it's not a life sentence.
Forgive yourself.
Okay, it really doesn't have, I can understand how it has been a life sentence for people and they have taken it to their grave. I understand with all my heart.
Just before you go there, because obviously, yes, someone said earlier, and this is the truth, and this is what I really feel is happening now with us women specifically. I'm not going to speak for men. Of course, they've got stuff and they need to get rid of it. But there's a breaking the patterns, breaking the generational trauma, breaking the patterns of abuse is the time now. That's why all these fucking pedophiles are coming out of the woodwork and, in the royal family, etc. It's time to sift. This will probably get taken down now. Just for whatever. This will probably get taken down from everything now. But the thing is,
well, then that only speaks to the truth of it, doesn't it?
We're reaching a point, as we know, where there's an awakening. We know that some of us are just there's a reason why we're here now.
Yes.
So, carry on with it, about the healing. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just really want to be like, it's so powerful. Brave Virginia Giuffre, having just really, what a magnificent soul and what wonderful strength she showed to continue speaking. Yeah,
Do you
to the
think that
network.
she did
So,
take her own life? Oh, who knows? But
yeah.
I do wonder. Yeah.
But I know that stirs things up. So I really want to just speak to survivors out there and to everyone, and speak to those deep traumas that can really feel like they're going to they might stay with us forever. And it does not need to be the case. I've started recently speaking to, now there's nothing simple at all about the trauma, but if we look in a simple way, if we can, just to the nervous system. Our nervous system makes everything function in our body, right? So its role is to process the information that it receives internally and externally. Yeah, that's its role. Yeah, and ideally it processes that information, it moves through, and then it doesn't have to hold that information locked in the body, So if you look at a duck, it gets a gunshot goes off, it gets a fright, it shakes, it moves through its whole system, and then it's as calm as can be. It's not carrying that fright anymore, yeah? But when the nervous system doesn't have an opportunity to express, and puts mechanisms in place to keep us safe as children, then that energy becomes bound in our system, yeah? So our system stops communicating with that part of the spinal cord or the nervous system that is locking that information, but in our physicality. So we can unravel that, and we can bring that that can come to the surface, to not to need to even relive everything, but just to allow processing to occur, so the nervous system doesn't have to have that energy bound inside. Yeah,
and
anymore.
it's almost like being more powerful than it, It's like,
well, there is a power.
Yeah.
Under each pain pattern or each challenge we face, there is literally a gift, a powerhouse underneath that. Eckhart Tolle refers to it as the pain body so beautifully, So they're all those pain patterns that the body put in place to protect us, to keep us safe at the time, but they don't need to be bound there anymore. So as they unravel and they're allowed to express and move through, what comes up from under there is a gem, like the crystal has to be crushed, to form, So it's like we have these gems, these crystals, these parts of ourselves that we thought were taken away. No part of our soul can ever be taken away from us.
No, exactly.
Ever, right? But it can be in a disconnect, by virtue of being a bit smothered, it's holding on to a certain pain pattern. But there's always amazing information underneath that, and knowledge that we learn. And then we start to vibrate at different frequencies because we've moved through that lived experience. So, as much as we signed up to be here now, that involved us equally signing up for all the experiences. And I don't say that lightly. I speak to that with myself. I know that I needed to come in to have that. Look, it shouldn't exist, but in a world where it's rampant, me having had that lived experience then gives me an understanding I would never really quite have, to be able to now be in a better position to speak to it, or to the work I do with, or, in different ways, even just by processing it, just our being holds those codes then. Yeah.
Many people can't speak still until the time is right. So the right people get their karma and punishment. Yeah. But that's not where your parents aren't alive.
No, I'm
anyway,
not coming from there, because obviously I did explore the court process with my father for many, many years. I carried the burden of just knowing that he would be continuing his behaviours because he'd had them all his life. And nothing was done about it in the court system. One time it was investigated for a year. The guy leading the investigation was wonderful, and he really thought it would go to court. But of course it got stopped by his superiors. So this is what we find is always happening. So I want people to know that as much as it is wonderful, obviously we want people to be held accountable without question, but you don't have to wait for someone else to be held accountable for yourself to heal and come into greater embodiment. So this is it. The power actually is always going to be within our being, actually. Yeah. And by virtue of that, things do shift as well, exponentially. Yeah.
So
but we
after you obviously from 16, how long were you in a sort of a breakdown period then?
I was so I finished secondary school, 18, and I went to Japan for a few years.
Okay. After that,
Yep, and then I came home at like 21, just before I turned 22, and then that's when I had that breakdown, maybe an 8-month period of solid breakdown, shall we say, and then I started going swimming at the pool to try and get some energy, and then moved on a little bit, but then I broke down again. I still at this point hadn't had any memories, so I didn't know what was causing it. So that was quite very hard. I felt like I wished I could have told Mum then, ironically, but I was like, I wish I could tell Mum that, I'd been on drug or, I'd been raped, because I didn't know then, right? So I was thinking, I wish I had some reasoning. I didn't understand. I was in a prison. And that's when I understood that hell is... Yeah, that's when I understood very clearly, though, hell is not a place. It is a state of mind, Like I felt like I was in that. I'm very clear about. In the same way, heaven is not. It's all a state of beingness, isn't it? Which is probably quite simple, but
you don't have to obviously talk about anything. But how was it when you did tell your mum, or you did talk? You were
so when I did remember when I had the first memory, and then when I did speak with my mum, well, she'd always known I'd been honest, so she believed me, but she didn't quite understand. And then she rang, I think it was called the sexual abuse hotline. It was child sexual abuse. It was just a new thing that was starting to come out. But when she rang them, they asked her, has your daughter had a nervous breakdown? Did she seem to be always running? Like these few different questions. And Mum was like, yes, yes, and yes, And then they said, well, she's not lying. And Mum said, no, I know that, but how could I have not seen it? Because Mum wasn't like wouldn't matter if she was, but she wasn't like a career watch. She was very much a mum who loved her kids and her home and was there, working in the family businesses.
As far as she goes, it's a reflection on her,
Yeah, she carried a big burden because when I spoke, it then gave a voice for my auntie to speak, who had been horrifically abused by him and had never really had a life. I'm really grateful life took me on a journey to find tools that helped me to move through, because...
he abused his sisters as well.
So Mum's parents had a daughter like unexpectedly. They had their 4 kids and then they had a daughter who was 12 years younger than Mum or something like that, 15 years younger than Mum.
Oh, your
Mum was the older daughter. Yep. So they had a child by, not an accident, I don't want to say, but a surprise child, a surprise gift. And so she would have been about 3 when, I don't even like saying his name, but when he entered the picture, right? When Mum started dating him. So that would have been the first point where he got access to this young girl, and that would have been an innocent family that wasn't looking for anything like that. You know what I mean? And he wouldn't have done it in front of people, obviously. And one of her memories is so horrific, like next level horrific. Yeah. But anyway, the good thing is that me coming out did give her an opportunity to have a voice, to speak, to what she'd never spoken to anyone about it.
Because you came forward. Yeah. Yeah.
It gave her
you were about the same age, you're saying? You were roughly the same age as her?
No. She was, but she came before. She was...
Okay.
Her abuse would have happened earlier than mine.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he was definitely a serial offender. There's other things, but...
I won't ask that question right now, Jason. I think it's really important for you to talk about the uncovering of it all, first of all, on you.
That's right.
He's asking about you and other relationships with men, etc., and relationships with men, but,
that's not so relevant to me. That's not really part of this discussion.
Yeah, that's right. You must have been a very guarded child, girl, and young woman then. So coming to terms with this and trusting that you can actually talk to other people and without them going, Suzanne, you're just, you're crazy.
Well, the thing is, when I first did speak to it, because when I had my first memories, so I was like 23, so we're talking 30 years ago almost, yeah. And when I first started to speak to, like, I had to start putting it together, come to terms with it myself, because it's
because
very
it was
hard
something
to
that
comprehend at 23 how you could be remembering something
no.
That was
Just on a
mind-boggling.
completely different thing. I mean, my background, there's periods when I cannot remember, but I can remember something way before it very clearly. But I think when things are shit and bad things, you just cannot. Well, like you said,
that's
you're
it.
shoving away
This
somewhere.
locking. Yeah.
So you started, carry on with what you're saying.
No, you go. I forgot.
Sorry. You were talking about when you were 23, how it was starting to.
Yeah, and then that's when I first had my first memories. And then so from there it was just so from there it was a journey of, a process. It was a process and it took so I went through different strategies. So writing, just free writing was a great tool for me, just writing without knowing what I was writing. And then often what would happen, I'd go through all this, beating myself up, actually, language, because that's probably what was going on. But then I would come to clarity. Things would start to present. Actually, I want to share something very quickly with you.
What verbally?
I want to share something with you very quickly as an example. Something that I wrote when I'd broken down, but before I'd remembered any of the abuse. But it's amazing how our subconscious, our things are within us, right? So, I've written this when I've broken down, but I have no recollection of the abuse. And I've called it reconnecting with my inner self. And this is what's come out. I know that she's in there. I know that she's sweet. I know that she's someone who I'd love to meet, but she's scared. She's scared of the pace and the power, the lies and the greed, scared of rejection, of being alone, unprotected. But now I know she wants to be found. She's crying aloud. She wants to be heard. So I'll find her. I love her. I miss you, my baby. Forgive me. That's to my little self, right? Wow. And then I've got, why? Why am I fighting so hard? It also used to seem so beautiful, but now I'm lost in the dark. There's nowhere to go but inside. I'm tossing and turning and screaming in big letters, I'm learning the truth. And that was before I knew. It's interesting, isn't it? How we.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old do you think you were when you wrote that? You said.
So that was when I was 20. I'd had the nervous breakdown. I was, as I said, writing was a big part, and a lot of it would just be blah blah, and then these little wisdoms of truth would present themselves. That were just on reflection now are so very clear what I was.
Yeah.
I also, but when I was at school in year 7 or 8, I want to say, we were asked to write a children's book, right? Just a little children's book, but that would teach the children's, something that was a bit educational, would give them some, I don't know, something, teach them something, right?
Yeah.
So I wrote this book and I got very good marks, and I don't know how it wasn't flagged, but I wrote this book and it's called, it's about a little boy, so I haven't done it exactly, but it's about this little boy and it's called I'm a Naughty Boy, all right? And it's about this little boy, Jamie, right? And this little boy, Jamie, talks to God all the time and everything, and then he's all excited he's going to school, and, there's one moment he's listening to the Flintstones, and then his dad comes home and he's like, oh, please don't let Dad hurt me. Please don't let me have done anything wrong. I make it look different, but the words I use are very interesting, right? And then this little boy, Jamie, gets excited about going to school, and then his mum says to him, oh, Jamie, you were a silly boy falling off your bike, and getting all those sore marks. And Jamie said, I didn't fall off my bike, Mum. I know what you're doing. You're tricking me, And then the mum says, I don't think this was my mum, but anyway, but then the mum says, Yes, I was tricking you, Jamie. Now, you can be clever and trick all your friends at school, right? And not tell them they're your naughty boy marks, right, is what I was calling it in the book, right? And every time I wrote my name, the word dad in this book, I coloured it in black, right? And then, anyway, so it goes on, and obviously Jamie was getting physically hurt, but what I was calling it was naughty boy marks, and it was interesting wording, Yes, and then in this book, so one day at school, Jamie loves school. One day at school, another lady comes in and she wants to speak to the children about if they get touched in a bad way. And then she asks the kids, if anyone's ever been touched in a bad way, you can put your hand up. And all the kids put their hand up, and one girl was touched in a bad way because her cat bit her or something. And another boy was touched in a bad way because of something or other. But Jamie has his hand up. And then they said, Jamie, and Jamie says, oh, I don't think Dad means to touch me in a bad way, right? And so then all Jamie's problems are solved, because then the teachers come to the house and, and then in the end of the book, Jamie finds out he never was a naughty boy. He finds out he never was a naughty boy because it's his dad that was the naughty boy.
So, Susanna, you were crying for help
but unconsciously, because at the time I just, I got great marks for my book, and oh my goodness.
But no one heard you. No one heard you.
No, I didn't hear me until years later when I remembered. And then a faint memory of this book came in my head, and I'm like, please let that be at Mum's. And when I found it and read it, I was like, oh my God.
Oh my goodness. You should publish it now.
Just changing myself to be a boy, not a girl, and changing it, not sexual, but just being hit, which I was never hit, but the wording just says it all. It's, anyway.
Oh my goodness,
that's just another
incredible.
tangent. But how our systems and process.
Like someone said, Nina here, she wants you to get her in touch with her. I believe she's in the same area as you. How do the teachers not see that?
It's reflective of the times again, I think, probably.
Yeah. They wouldn't have known.
And I wasn't a child turning up looking, I was full of joy, I was good in my waking hours, I really wasn't presenting. I do understand that.
This is you.
So when I broke down.
Yeah, right.
When I broke down, and then moving forward from there, I had 20 years while I was raising my daughter that it was regular, the overwhelming emotion. I had memories as my daughter went through different ages, she'd reach a certain age and then I'd get flooded with memories of that age, that's what I noticed happened. Like
protective mother as well.
And
you've become a chiropractor as well, haven't you?
Well, because of this work. So I taught dance for many years, which was wonderful. I was teaching ballet and contemporary for many years. And then, as I said, I got recommended to go and see Con, who does this network spinal work. And after I went on, it's a journey you go on, because the body needs to be feeling safe first, and your body guides it at its own rhythm and timing. But as my system started to unravel these memories and where they were in the physicality and feel the actual reality of them releasing, not just me being aware of them, but they're actually unraveling through the system, I was like, oh my goodness, this is what I have to do. This is how I can help people best. So then I went on to study then as a mature age, which was like 6 years study. I didn't know what I was getting myself in for, but
I didn't realize chiropractic was different, was a separate thing.
No, it's because it's because a lot of people associate chiropractic with more manual. There's a lot of modalities of chiropractic. So I specifically studied to do, I had to study everything to get the title chiropractor, but then network spinal, this modality comes under a chiropractic banner. So
is it Donald Epstein Network Chiropractic? What?
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, that's just horrendous name, Epstein. Every time I saw that going up.
I didn't know. Yeah, his name is Donnie Epstein.
What is she putting all these words connecting up with what she's doing?
How bizarre. But yes, it is. It's network spinal put together by, So it is, but I'm not on here to promote anything, but just more to empower us all to know that
Absolutely. It's
No
never,
matter
ever,
the complexity of the trauma, we can, and our system, given the right environment and opportunity, can unravel, and we can come back to finding the power that underlies any of those challenges.
Which is healing, but it's even more than healing, because it's like you said,
It's
it's over.
transmuting it.
It's empowering you
Yep.
again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, exactly. And it's not getting rid of something, it's allowing it to come back into a true embodiment of a learned experience, but it can start to become something more in the rear vision mirror. But what is so difficult for survivors, as the pain and trauma comes up initially, even if it is years after, it feels as intense as when it happened, or it has a level of intensity, but the reason for that in those early stages does make sense if we go back to that understanding that the nervous system, if it can express things, then it can let it go. But if it's not expressed, so it literally means, like, for example, with me, and again, everyone is going to process things differently, but when my body started to feel safe enough to uncover some of the locked areas where it had put this trauma, I would literally be on the table, getting work done. I mean, like getting this network spinal care done in a beautifully held environment. But I would be on the table, and when my system locked in, it just took on a life of its own. And I'd be writhing and crying and, bawling, and, nothing conscious about it, because there's actually other people in the room on their journey, but I couldn't control it because it's that innate wisdom then just moving it through, it's And for other people, it will happen in a subtle way. It doesn't have to happen in any particular way. But this is the thing. We all have our own unique pathways.
And we know that also if you hold
to
on to stuff, or if you don't get it out or whatever, release it, overpower it, this is how people get sick, holding on to it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And again, because the nervous system sort of bypasses that area to do everything it needs to do. So it's not getting the proper feedback. The flow gets blocked. So it's like if a river is the nervous system, and if it's flowing freely, everything is nourished, everything's nourished. But as soon as there's a block on that river, then all the channels downstream are going to start to be undernourished and die off, so to speak. So that's why as we remove these or allow them to rise to the surface, these locks, it's not even getting rid of them, it's more integrating them, so then they get transmuted, so to speak. Yeah.
And so you're on the road now, aren't you, Suzanne? Because you were...
No, not now. I've formally arrived. I've arrived where I know I'm to be, which is I'm at the base of Wollumbin, Mount Warning, and the land here is magnificent. I feel like the mountain called me, and the communities around here.
I can't remember when it
but
was.
I was on the road.
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, I was on the road.
Up,
I did.
and it will open.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing journey. So I went up the centre. We live in a magnificent country, and that was a very healing sort of sabbatical journey, I feel, for me as well, to really Mama had passed away, and then all the shenanigans in, obviously Victoria. So it was the perfect opportunity and timing for me to have permission to really step away from even the family. Yeah. Unfortunately, my siblings, as a result of all this is something I was going to speak to too. I don't know if we'll go there today or not now. But
I was actually going to ask you about your brothers, but all of you've got more siblings,
Well, I've got a sister, but it's a bit different. I didn't meet her until I was 12. She was adopted out. She's a full sister. But anyway, I had my two brothers that I'd grown up with my whole life. And we were all really close.
Yeah.
But when I had the nervous breakdown, that we were still all, that was all fine. They were there for me as best they could be then as well. But from when I spoke my truth, from when I remembered about the abuse and spoke to it, even though other people spoke to it and they have memories of some awful behaviours, their own personal, not the same thing, but different.
Yes.
Very clear his character, but from sort of that time moving forward, it just became more and more strained to the point where they've been just so very nasty to me and don't speak to me at all. And even at Mum's
Wow.
funeral, I'd been
Your
caring for
brothers
Mum
don't
full
speak to you.
time.
Your brothers don't
Yeah,
speak
and
to you.
this is the I do this as I'm very passionate about this as well, because when it happens in the family, I think sometimes, not always, but when it happens in an institutional setting or something outside the family,
Yeah.
sometimes the survivors then do have a support network of their family, potentially, maybe not always, but often we see that is the case. Whereas often in the family, unfortunately, I wish I was the only one in this situation, it's not the case. It's very common when it happens in the family unit. Then the survivor who speaks of the abuse, the one who speaks of the truth, we're all familiar with this now, is the one that gets, rejected and attacked, like
Yes.
not physically, but verbally attacked.
No, because you are actually you bringing other people down. Yeah, which is another.
You're presenting something they don't want to see. With my brothers, it was so hard for me to understand. I was in so much pain. I love my brothers dearly. So for many years, I really could not understand. I could work out about his disturbances with the abuse and his sickness, to a degree, do you know? Excuse me. But I could sort of come to terms that he's a sick human being doing these sick things, But it was really hard to contemplate how then that overflowed to people who had loved me, like rejecting me because I'm telling them that he raped me when I was, and I had other family members at different times when I went to the police, and that even family members who were very much aware of the abuse, but they were scared of him, maybe. I don't know.
Well, that's what some people are asking, and you don't have to even go there. What happened to him? So you said he went on to have other relationship.
He has now. Earlier this year, he has passed away. Yeah, so he never got held accountable for anything.
Never got held accountable.
No, it went as far as this. This, as I said, a year-long investigation was undertaken when my other auntie spoke as well, and I had already spoken to police.
And that's 30-something years ago. He managed to, who knows how many other people he abused afterwards.
No. That was a great burden for that burden, I think, left me maybe 4 or 5 years ago. He didn't leave 4 or 5 years ago. He passed away earlier this year, but about 4 or 5, maybe a few more than that. No, maybe before COVID and everything. So maybe 7 or 8 years ago. It was just like that burden eased. So I don't know where he was at that time in his life, whether he didn't have the capacity or wasn't getting out or didn't have access. But I felt like it stopped like a few years before he passed away. I felt like but prior to that, there were times where I'd get strong, like dreams or something, and my heart of hearts just felt like I knew he would he was abused, awful. Goodness. For years I carried that. So as long as I thought there was that thread, I did what I could to try and
but of course you did, and
but you do have to let go when you.
You have nothing. You did nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. No.
You were just an absolute victim, which is just awful.
But beyond that, I am but we can thrive. Beyond that, we can. It doesn't have to stay. But I have faced lots of challenges. Yeah. So, because I definitely want to leave it as, Look, it's helpful as well. People just hearing some of the dialogue as well, potentially. I don't know. So, my only wish or hope would be is always for people to know that you're not alone, to know that we can get through this, to know you're okay. And also I wanted to really say that one of the biggest things I had to heal was beyond the abuse or him or my brothers was that broken trust that came down to be a broken trust sort of with self. So the more we can work on really healing that trust and honouring ourselves and putting in daily practices that feel good for us and like putting our feet on the earth, the simplicity of helping our electromagnetic field to anchor and ground in and to write. Free writing was great for me. Writing.
Yeah, I love writing. I'm actually thinking of going away for a few days and just spending some time working on some of these things that I want to get out of me.
Happen
though. But
and then just the little things, just deep belly breathing techniques, things to ground us. Yeah.
But if
And
anyone
know that we can.
like, look at Susanna. You just and this is what I'm saying. If people have to realize we've got each other, and you
Yep.
don't know what someone has got trapped in them. You know.
Yeah. Exactly. Yep. And I would definitely recommend this network spinal work. I know I said I wasn't going to, but just because I always go there because it was so helpful for me. And there's a lot of practitioners in Melbourne and in the cities.
So that's what you do, yeah? That's what you do.
That's what I do.
That's what you
Yeah. I started practicing here as well.
Yeah.
And it's not just specifically for but it's a wonderful modality. So if people are, that's what that is
Have you
called.
got
So we
lots of
touched on that
Victorians
before.
up
So
there?
do know that. Huh?
Have you got lots of Victorians up where you are? I'm sure that's
Yeah,
probably
more and more people. It's a magnificent part of the world here. As I said, I feel like the mountain called me, actually. And from the moment I arrived here, literally pulled up here, I just felt so held by this sacred land. And by virtue of that, there's such lovely communities around here. You know, I feel because the land is so lush and sacred, and I don't know, the mountain Wollumban has a presence. And I feel like the communities around here really reflect that most beautifully. Like every Friday morning, people who know me know how much I love to dance. It's an important it's an important medicine for me, dancing, actually, to release it. And every Friday morning in Yukai, the little village near where I am, the community gathers to dance from 9 till 10:30. Not the whole community, but 30 to 50 people are in there. And someone different does the playlist each week. And it's such good, it's such good medicine. So
I want to come up on Friday.
yeah, right. You must. You'll have somewhere to stay, Rohanna.
I'm looking at
lovely to speak with you.
Thank you so much for opening up your soul and your guts.
Yeah, no, my honour to share. And look, I'd be happy to share some more about maybe not even that, but just different daily techniques, maybe not today now, but different daily little things we can do just little things we can do, you know, to shift our energetic field. And
we have to. And get in touch with Suzanne. How would people get in touch with you if they wanted to?
So the best way, it's either the phone or the internet. I'm not, my website, I'm sorry, fell by the wayside. I was reluctantly paying my...
Yeah, sorry. They can contact me at the earthwormwoman at gmail.com. For now, I'm going to get a proton mail or whatever we have to get. And also I want people to send me your emails, because I heard something else today, that things might not be going so much into this whole under 16 thing, that they might be just doing sporadic ones and, you know, talking like it was probably a bit much of us to ask. But just in case, I'm going to get onto proton mail, and so people, and very likely off of all of this eventually, but so we need to start gathering our emails and phone numbers so we can keep in contact.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah, so people are welcome to contact if they want to discuss further. I'm open to anything that's going to help support.
A huge hug.
Oh, bless.
There's her email for you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Much love to everyone.
Thank you, Susanna. Massive hug to you. And I hope to come and see you at some point. And thank you, everybody, for being here. It was a very
thank you, everyone. Much love to all. Ciao, ciao.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
I am not just a product made to satisfy the pocket, nor do I require the same fame others seek. I desire your heart, the passions that make you a woman, any woman, every woman. My scents are a representation of purpose, courage, confidence, each botanical ingredient a praise of thanksgiving and self-care. The way I feel upon your flesh, a comfort of nourishment, as I feed dehydrated and depleted layers of skin, bursting for a new life of regrowth and youthfulness. If I stir your soul with each application, let it be known that you, too, are an intimate duet, woman.